The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Off the Wall with Eric Lenaberg, the Doctor of Baseball. I am here today, and we are going to be talking baseball once again, specifically 1960s baseball. To a lot of people, that was the true golden era of the game. If so, why? We're going to talk about that with my very special guest, Chuck Boyer. Chuck joins us from Chandler, Arizona. Chuck, welcome aboard today.
Hey, glad to be here, Doc.
And
we're just going to talk off the wall, right? There's not going to be any fast pitches or anything, right? Yeah.
No fast pitches today. Chuck was a regular winner of the trivia contest on the fast pitch. Won more than anybody else. Stumped the doctor more than anybody else, and we're going to see if he can do it again today. Also, Chuck is the lead representative of the Diamondbacks, Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation. They have what they call a 50-50 raffle at the stadium. And a lot of you listeners know, you've heard me over the years, and I've regularly bashed the Arizona Diamondbacks, something I don't do anymore. But I will say this, all professional sports, every organization I've seen, no one does more for their community than the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I put the 50-50 raffle at the top of the list. So, Chuck, I want to thank you for running that. And tell us how it works.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Yes.
Now, how does the 50-50 raffle work? If someone comes to a game, for instance, I'll be there on Tuesday. My birthday is the stadium.
Anybody in the ballpark can purchase a 50-50 raffle ticket from any of our sellers or our kiosks located throughout the ballpark. We have two on the main concourse, one down the third base line, one down the first base line. We've got one on the suite level. And on most busy nights, when we get a lot of fans in the upper deck, we'll put one up there too. But you purchase a ticket, you can get 3 of them for $5, 10 of them for $10, or 60 of them for $20. 80 of them for $20. I'm sorry, 80 for 20. Okay.
80 for $20.
Fans, 80 for $20. Yes. 80 numbers for $20, and the good number of winners come off those. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but anyway. Fans who are located in Arizona, who are home watching the game, can also purchase them online during the game.
Oh, that's fantastic.
By going to the Diamondbacks app, DBacks5050, dbacks.com/5050 raffle, and purchase a raffle ticket online while you're sitting at home. We have had 2 winners who purchased online this year already.
Wow. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Now,
you can sit there on your couch and watch the Diamondbacks and win a 50-50 raffle jackpot. Our jackpots run anywhere from $15,000 to $90,000 this year.
Well, let's hope it's a big one Tuesday, because as I said, I'm going to be there celebrating my birthday, and I'm buying at least 8.
Good.
I'm probably going to go for 160 for only $40.
Oh,
so.
All right. Okay, I'll usher you to your seat.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be sitting right behind the dugout, so I'll let you know where I'm at.
Okay, that'll work. All right.
I don't know if you saw a recent ESPN magazine special edition. They have what they call the Dominant 20, the top athletes of our time. It's got people like LeBron James, Serena Williams.
I have not seen it. That is so subjective and opinionated.
It really is.
You know what I mean?
It really is. And
if you were to ask me who are the 5 greatest players that I've ever seen, I couldn't name the 5.
Yeah, it's very tough. But be that as it may, I'm not just appalled, I'm disgusted. They have Mike Trout as the second best baseball player of this era. Barry Bonds of this era, ranking Barry Bonds as the greatest player of the last 30 years.
Okay, I tend to agree with that. Mike
Do you agree with the magazine?
I don't really. I haven't really watched. I haven't really looked at it. No, I got my favorites. Baseball America. You know.
Yeah.
They used to live for the sporting news once a week. Rest in peace. But nobody covers baseball and minor league operations and college baseball like Baseball America does. So.
I agree. So, okay, we're going to leave the Trout versus Bonds discussion on the table then. And let's talk
Mike Trout is the one player that I've seen that could play in the 1960s.
I agree. And that's what I was going to say. That being the case, Let's talk
There's
about
nothing there's nothing he can't do. There's nothing I've seen that he can't do. There's a lot of things I saw Barry Bonds that couldn't do. He couldn't throw, for one thing.
Couldn't throw. He could not a good teammate.
He couldn't field the way Mike Trout can in center field.
Yeah,
I mean that guy's made some catches that just defy logic.
Oh, you know? Every week it seems like there's a highlight reel.
Uh-huh.
And isn't being a great teammate part of being a great player? I mean, isn't that part of the whole package?
It's part of the makeup is the clubhouse. Okay,
I agree. And they get into a lot of the sabermetrics, WAR and risk and this and that and the other. I don't buy any of that stuff. But let's talk about the 1960s. As you said, Mike Trout could play in the 60s.
Yes, he could.
You and I were growing up in the 60s, and we both were in the Los Angeles area. So we got to see some of the greatest baseball there was, some of the greatest players, Hall of Fame players, regularly.
Yep.
Who was the greatest pitcher of all time, in your opinion?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind, Sandy Koufax.
Sandy Koufax, I agree. Saw him many times. I was a little boy and was taken there by family members, and they told me at the time, you might not remember this game, but when you grow up, you're going to tell your kids and your grandkids that you saw Sandy Koufax pitch live. And sure enough, I do tell my kids that.
That's the left arm of God.
The left arm of God, exactly. Can you imagine Koufax with a pitch count today, or Don Drysdale? Can you imagine Walter Alster walking the mound with Drysdale pitching and saying, "Oh, you hit 100 pitches, Big D. You're coming out."
Robin Roberts, I think, went 22 years, over 20 complete games in a row.
That's right. That's right.
Noah Ryan pitched for 27 years and threw over 5,000 innings.
I never had
Noah Ryan used to throw 230 pitches a game.
Yeah. I tell you,
and he pitched till he was 45 years old. Didn't
he throw a no-hitter when he was 42 or 43?
Yeah.
Like that? His last one? Yeah.
Yeah. Warren Spahn threw one in the 40s too.
Oh, that's right.
That's another guy who, if you ever went out to the mound to try to take the ball from him, he'd kick you off the mound.
Well, and there was
a famous off the mound. You know, a good friend of mine, Johnny D'Acquisto, used to pitch for the Giants. And,
I know John.
Johnny was pitching in the early 80s and had a no-hitter going. I believe it was around the 5th or the 6th inning. And manager Vern Rule didn't care for him too much, so he went out to take him out the game. And Johnny looked at him and said, "You kidding me? I'm pitching a no-hitter. Get the F off my mound."
Boy, and I know John. I can see him doing that. But that tells you the difference today. These pitchers being coddled. There was a famous game in the 1960s. I think it was 1964. Warren Spahn and Juan Marichal both went 16 innings.
You know, Juan Marichal told me a story about that game.
Oh, okay.
Juan Marichal told me a story about that game. That was the 16-inning 1-0 game. They both pitched the entire game.
Right.
Well, in the 14th inning, Alvin Dark, Juan told me, wanted to take him out of the game. And Marichal looked at him and he said, "You see that man over there in the other dugout? He's 42 years old. If he's not coming out of the game, I'm not coming out of the game." Well, Willie Mays then told him in the top of the 16th inning, because Willie was leading off the bottom of the 16th inning. And Willie told Juan, "Get these guys out in this inning and I'll win the game for you, and we'll get out of here." And Mays homered leading off the bottom of the 16th inning, and Marichal beat Spahn 1-0 in 16 innings.
So that really happened. What an amazing story.
Yeah, that was Juan Marichal, who also told me once when I asked him about Maury Wills, and he said, "Oh, what a pest." He said to me in his Dominican accent, "I throw the ball over 13 straight times to first base. Finally, I throw the ball to the plate after the 14th time, and that little pest steals second base."
Wow, they had some fantastic matchups, the Dodgers and Giants. Do you remember the big fight?
Well, I remember the big fight, but I also remember the grounds crew at Candlestick Park soaking first base so that it was an absolute swamp.
Oh yeah,
and just to slow Wills down, And one said that was Alvin Dark's idea. It wasn't the ground crew.
I'll be darned. Alvin Dark, shrewd manager.
Yes, he was, and a great baseball man.
Yeah, he was. I think you are friends with his daughter, as I am, Lori.
Yes.
Back in those days, the grounds crews were very much a part of doing things like that. Make a swamp out of the base path.
Yes.
And at Dodger Stadium,
leaving the
grass
leaving the infield grass a little higher.
Yeah. You can lay down
faster ball clubs and stuff would before the AstroTurf came in, which was a joke also. Would cut it real low and stuff, so the ball would get through the infield a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But in racing, you got the giant swamp in first base, and the grass. Word is the Dodgers used to have some pretty thick grass in Dodger Stadium during.
That's what I always heard.
Koufax's era, during Drysdale and Koufax's era.
Now, speaking of Drysdale, let's talk about Big D for a minute, and maybe rest in peace.
God, what a guy!
Man. What a man! Such a beloved guy, but such a
for every one of my guys that go down, two of yours are going to go down.
Exactly right.
It was a different game then, man.
That's right.
A different game. Somebody, there was a young hitter. There was a young hitter who was, digging at the plate there. They dig their, make themselves a nice little groove there. And Drysdale walked off the mound halfway to home plate and told him, "Kid, dig it a little bit deeper." Well,
you mentioned Marichal. You mentioned Willie Mays. I talked to Willie one time about that specific game where they had to fight. And before the battle started in the 5th or 6th inning, Willie came up to bat and he knew he was going to get hit by a pitch. And he said, he looked at Johnny Roseborough and said, "Is it going to be me?" And Roseborough said, "Just stand in there and take it like a man," something like that. And Willie told me,
Sandy would never throw to batter. Sandy would never throw to batter.
And Willie said, "I thank God it was Koufax out there and not Drysdale, because I feared for my life it should have been Drysdale." Big D did not play around. But that was the era.
There was two guys on the Dodgers that you could count on with your back on the ground or your face in the dirt.
Who was the other one?
Drysdale, Stan Williams.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Roland Heeman once told me a story about Stan Williams. He said Stan Williams would knock a guy down during batting practice.
I love that. But again, we are from that era. You and me are from that era, and that was the way the game was played. Remember Bob Gibson?
Oh, God, do I ever remember Bob Gibson? 1.12 ERA in 1968.
That's right.
The amazing thing is he lost 8 games. How did he lose 8 games with a 1.12 ERA going 22-8?
It defies logic.
Well, Yogi Berra once said that about Sandy Koufax. Just before the 1963 World Series, because Koufax was 25-5 that year with a 1.73 ERA.
Right.
And Yogi said, I certainly have no problem. I certainly understand how he won 25 games. What I don't understand is how he lost 5.
What a great quote. Well, Gibson was another guy who had no problem knocking you down.
Gibson was another guy. Yeah, he got in an elevator fight with Johnny D'Acquisto.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's
over
a great
the game.
story. I'm going to have John on the air again sometime. I remember him.
You really do. You really do.
I had Tommy Davis has been a good friend for probably 30 years. He told me a story about Tommy's a great guy. He told me a story about hitting a game-winning home run. This was about 1963, I believe, against Gibson. So that night they were at a party. Both teams were there. And Tommy introduced his wife to Bob Gibson, and his wife said, "Oh, isn't this the guy you hit the home run off of?" And Tommy said he just rolled his eyes and said, "I knew I was going down the next time I faced him." And sure enough, next time he faced Gibson, first pitch, right in the butt. So that's fierce competition.
Tommy Davis had probably the greatest offensive season I ever saw from a guy who didn't win the MVP award and actually finished third.
That was 1962?
He had 1962, 27 home runs, 153 RBIs. He had 230 hits, scored 140 runs, and finished third and batted 342.
Those are astronomical.
He had 342 with 153 RBIs, 230 hits, scored 130 runs, and finished third in the MVP voting.
How does that happen? I know Wills won. And I guess
Wills won and Maury Wills finished second. I mean, Wills won and Willie Mays finished second.
Holy cow. Because those numbers just are never going to happen.
Willie had 49 homers that year. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And there were a lot of people who felt that Willie should have won it because they won the pennant that year. That was the year that the Dodgers had a 4-game lead with 10 games to go. Went scoreless in the final 3 games of the season against the St. Louis Cardinals, losing all 3 of them 1-0. And then they had the best-of-3 playoff back then. There was no divisions. So you won the National League winner, played the American League winner in the World Series. Well, since the National League winner had a tie, they played a best-of-3, just like they did in 1959 when the Dodgers beat the Milwaukee Brewers in the best-of-3.
Right.
Well, it was a 1-1 tie after it was Game 3 of the 1962 World Series, or the 1962 playoffs. That's when Will stole his record 104th base in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Ed Bailey's throw went past Jim Davenport into left field, and Will scored, and they took a 4-2 lead in the 9th inning. And then with Drysdale in the bullpen, who was the National League Cy Young Award winner that year at 25-9, Alston elected to go with Stan Williams in the 9th inning because, quote, he said he wanted to save Drysdale for Game 1 of the World Series. And Stan Williams gave up 4 runs in the 9th. The Dodgers lost 6-4, and the Giants went to the World Series.
That's right.
Which was a great World Series. It went Game 7 and ended on Willie McCovey's line drive to Bobby Richardson in the 9th inning with a tying run at second base in Game 7.
That's right. I have heard people say it's one of the greatest World Series ever. That series. It
was a great series.
But I have to put.
But if you had grown up a Dodger fan, that was even 1963 didn't make up for that heartbreak. This is like being a Packer fan and remembering the Seattle Seahawks game a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
We won't get into that. We're talking baseball.
Yeah, let's not. That's for another one. Other players that came through Los Angeles playing the Dodgers. Willie Stargell, I remember seeing him play several times. But he was the first guy to hit the ball out of Dodger Stadium. Oh, Chuck. Doggone it. You know, I told you before we came on the air I had a trivia question for you, and that's what it was. Now I'm going to have to go.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's all right. I'll come up
for you. Willie Stargell hit the first ball out of Dodger Stadium. Cleared the pavilion in right field.
Well, what I was going to say after that was, besides Stargell and a great Pittsburgh Pirate team, I was most impressed with Roberto Clemente the times I saw him at Dodger Stadium. Did you ever get a chance to see him play there?
Oh, my God. What a player.
He had it all, didn't he?
Yep, what a player. Yeah, he was originally Dodger property, you know.
Jim Campanis told me that. Excuse me, Jim Campanis told me that.
They tried to hide him in the low minor leagues and wouldn't let him bat all year long.
Right.
They tried to hide him out of the Rule 5 draft. Branch Rickey did. Or no, I take it back. Branch Rickey was with the Pirates then. And Branch Rickey knew all about him and drafted him on the Rule 5 draft from the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Wow, can you imagine Clemente with the 60
and he became a Pirate? Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Uh-huh. It seems like every team.
I remember the 1965 MVP vote coming down to Koufax and Clemente. Sandy won 27 games that year. And remember that Koufax had won the MVP in 1965. And Clemente won the award in a very, very close vote because a lot of writers said that they didn't feel that a pitcher should get the MVP over an everyday player.
Right.
Yeah, so I know Clemente was the MVP in 1965 in a close vote win over Sandy Koufax.
Yeah, and you know what? That was maybe the greatest season ever by a pitcher, 1965 Sandy Koufax. I thought he deserved the MVP.
That was the year that he pitched Game 7 of the 1965 World Series on 2 days rest.
That's right.
And threw a complete game shutout and struck out 12.
Yeah, I mean,
he told John Roseborough, John, my arm is mush. I can't break off a curve. And John Roseboro's nickname was Gabby because he didn't talk much. Okay.
Yeah.
So they called him Gabby. And Gabby said, okay, Sandy, let's just go with the heater. And they threw the fastball. He threw nothing but fastballs from the fourth inning till the end of the game and pitched the complete game shutout.
Oh, man.
On 2 days rest.
See, that's the kind of thing that a lot of my listeners are younger, have no idea what it's like. So, Chuck, you described Koufax, Sandy Koufax in the 1960s, because I tell people he should have been the MVP 3 or 4 times, and they laugh.
3 or 4 times, easily, yeah. He definitely should have won it in 65.
And what was it about it? The overpowering fastball. My dear old dad, who introduced me to this great game. Okay, he's my all-time hero. But my dad used to describe it as this. And my dad, of course, grew up in Chicago, was a lifelong Cubs fan, back in the 20s and 30s and what have you. And he said that Koufax was a guy who all he had to do was throw his glove out on the mound and the game was over. Right.
That's the way my dad used to describe Sandy Koufax.
That's about the best description I've ever heard, actually.
Yeah.
You just knew, I know as a kid going to see him, you just knew you're going to see him pitch. You were going to see a great performance. You were probably going to see the Dodgers win.
Well, every time you went, you didn't know if you were going to see a no-hitter.
That's right. That's right. Now, let me go through.
He pitched no-hitters for 4 consecutive years in a row.
4 consecutive years. And retired, I think.
Retired after winning 27 games, pitching 337 innings and striking out 350 batters.
And at 30 years old, a lot of people thought he could have pitched longer. But
Sandy said the reason that I'm retiring now is I want to at least be able to play golf when I'm 50 years old and be able to bend my arm. That's how bad his arthritic elbow was.
He was being very sincere. But is it possible also that part of his greatness, part of the legend when we think of Sandy Koufax is that he left at the top? He was at the absolute pinnacle when he retired. Yeah, that has to enter into it.
Of course, because a lot of people remember Willie Mays as a Met.
Oh, that's right.
And and people in that era that were just getting into baseball didn't know the greatness of Willie Mays because they saw him as a New York Met.
That's correct. Yeah,
okay.
I was in high school when he played for the Mets, and it was almost an embarrassment to watch him.
It was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment in the 1973 World Series. He was an embarrassment.
Right. Correct.
It was an embarrassment.
Okay, now I'm going to toss another trivia question at you, and this is regarding Sandy Koufax. Okay, only 3 players ever hit 2 home runs in a game off Sandy Koufax his entire career. One was Felipe Alou of the Giants. The other 2 played for the Chicago Cubs. Can you name one or both of the other 2?
George Altman would be one.
That's correct.
Wow, who would the second one be? I remember George Altman, and I also remember Bob Uecker used to take and hit him. Bob Uecker couldn't hit anybody, but for some reason, Bob Uecker could hit Sandy Koufax.
That's an anomaly.
George Altman I know as one. Felipe Alou I know as one.
The other one is the Chicago Cubs, I mentioned.
I would have to say Billy Williams if I was going to make a guess.
Okay, is there any Banks? But
that would have been my second guess. Would have been Ernie or Billy Williams. The sweet swinging Billy Williams. The sweet swinging Billy Williams is what he was called. What a hitter!
What a hitter!
What a hitter!
The fact that you knew Altman is what surprised me.
The 60s were just magical, and not just because we were growing up in that era. But, my God, look at the players that played in that era. Frank Robinson, Stan the Man Musial was still playing up until 1963. Frank Robinson to me is the most feared hitter I've ever seen in my entire life. I love
Bob Gibson at the plate,
I love Robbie.
Yeah.
Huh?
He was kind of like a Bob Gibson mentality as a hitter. He was going to
Frank
take you
Robinson
down.
was just, to me, the most feared hitter in baseball.
Right.
He put the fear of God in you every time he came up to bat. The man was unbelievable.
Yeah, and how do you feel about
remember, Bill DeWitt's the guy who traded him at 30 because he thought he was an old 30 and traded him to the Baltimore Orioles for Milt Pappas. And all Robbie did was go out and win the Triple Crown and the MVP the following year in Baltimore.
Yeah, one of the worst trades of all time. But he did, he did that with a vengeance.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
He was out to prove it.
Yeah. No, Frank
I
Robinson.
think you got to know Frank. You were working in Arizona Fall League.
I did get to know Frank. Yeah, Frank was assisted Steve Cobb with the Arizona Fall League for several years during the 90s, and then became president of the National League, president of baseball.
Right.
From the Arizona Fall League. But I met Robbie over at Compadre Stadium, old Compadre Stadium here in Chandler. What a great little ballpark.
Oh, that's right.
What a great little ballpark. It's gone now. It's Fulton Homes. But
yeah.
Compadre Stadium, I met Robbie at Compadre Stadium with Reggie Jackson, and I got in a nice little beef with Reggie about the 1978 World Series. 77 World Series it was. I said, you know what, you're a cheater. Because I won a trivia. Amazing. I won the trivia question that night. Okay, and so I went up to collect an autographed baseball from Frank Robinson, and we were going back and forth, and people thought we were serious. They were looking there, and they're, oh my God, is he serious? I kept telling him, "You're a cheater. You're a cheater. You threw your hip out on purpose." He goes, "Were you a Dodger fan, man?" I go, "It doesn't matter. You were a cheater." He goes, "We beat on you like a drum," he said. So we were going on, and Robbie was in the background going to me, "Get him. Go after him. Get him. Get him." And so then I finally concluded, I said, "Here, I'd rather have Robbie's autograph than you. He was a better baseball player than you anyway." And Robinson started cracking up. Reggie started laughing. And then afterwards, I got together with the three of them, and I had one of the best times I had when I used to come as a fan to the Fall League. You know, before I got to start working with them for 8 years now, and I attended Arizona Fall League since its inception in 1992. I would come over here with my son every year because I'd come over here and stay here with some friends in Tempe. Right. And we'd go to Fall League games I'd take a week's vacation, come over here and go to Fall League games. And all I wanted to do when I retired from UPS was I wanted to work in the Fall League. And I love what I do. I mean, I absolutely love what I do. But when the Fall League comes and I get to be scoreboard operator and the audio operator, play stadium music and everything for Scottsdale Stadium and the Scottsdale Scorpions, as scoreboard operator, you've got to watch every single pitch. Right. So in the Fall League, I get to watch every single pitch of every single game. You know?
That's right.
Which is so much fun. But, well, I mean, I don't watch every single pitch because I'll be talking to Tony sometimes. I'll hear the catcher's mitt hit, and I'll go, "Tony, what was that pitch?" And he'll go, "I don't know. I was talking to you." So luckily, the umpire will throw up his arms 3-1 or 2-1 or everything and bail me out real quick. So I'm good on that end. You know what I mean?
It's funny, too. I work in the Fall League, too, as you know. We both are colleagues there, but I do a different job.
Right, Prize Stadium. Uh-huh.
Right, I'm one of the announcers there. But where you are at Scottsdale, fans can come right up to the window and start talking to you, even during the game, and they don't realize.
Compadre Stadium used to be like that, too, because Compadre's press box was wide open. Okay.
Oh, good.
I can at least shut the window on somebody if they come up. Okay, we never do. But at Compadre, that press box was wide open, and you just walked right up. That's where I walked right up to talk to Reggie and Robbie that day. But yeah, Scottsdale Stadium. I love Scottsdale Stadium. It is a nice, intimate little ballpark. It's a great ballpark. We have our league offices in there, so I have all my people in there with me. You know, our league administrator, Eric Lenaberg, Steve Cobb's there. The great Paul Jensen is there. So it's a family.
It is. I love
Diamondbacks
working for the
family.
Fall League.
My Fall League people is family. It's my baseball family.
I like working for the Fall League more than anything else I do in baseball. As you know, I've worked for the MLB Network. I've done different jobs. I love the Fall League.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. What I do with the Diamondbacks is so much fun also. I mean, getting back to our program, what our raffle does is we outfit 106 Little Leagues with jerseys, caps, and everything with over 60,000 jerseys go to 106 leagues in the state of Arizona. And that's all comes from from the revenue that we raise in the fall league. And I get the honor then of helping fill orders then before spring training even starts. So you see all the different jerseys. I mean, there's all kinds of them, you name them, different colors, different styles. And so when I'm walking around the ballpark at Chase Field, I'll see the Little Leaguer kids walk around with their jerseys, right? And I'll say, okay, that was number 24, that was number 5, that was number 9, because I'm sorting the jerseys out and filling the orders. But it's so much fun. But the fall league is just it's such a laid back and relaxed atmosphere because you know what I mean. You're looking at tomorrow's stars today.
That's right.
Looking at the top prospects in baseball, and so the next year you may be watching say the MLB channel. After you get home from Chase Field and stuff, and you'll flip some more games on, and you'll see these guys coming up or pitching, and you go, hey, he was with us this year. He was with us in the fall league. He was with us 2 years ago. He was with us 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember you telling me about the 2011 Scottsdale Scorpions. They had Mike Trout in center field and Bryce Harper in right field. What an amazing tandem.
As a matter of fact, we not only had Bryce Harper and Mike Trout on that team, we had Brandon Crawford, Joe Panic, catcher Derek Norris. We also had, remember we had a third baseman named Will Middleton that was good with the Red Sox for a little while.
Yeah, I remember
that. We had Crawford, Joe Panic, Harper and Trout, and finished last in the fall league that year.
I was going to say, you would have thought a team like that would have stormed through and won the whole thing. They finished last.
You would have thought so, but we finished last. Because it was the pitching staff had an ERA of 5.87 that fall.
Oh my gosh! Well, that's what
pitching's the name of the game. Hey, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2018, pitching's still the name of the game.
Yes, it is. So you said you have a trivia question for me. Are you able to?
Yeah, you being a big Dodger fan, right?
That's right.
And grew up a Dodger fan. And
you better believe it.
The Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, of course, in 1958.
That's right.
And played in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum.
Yes.
First major league game I ever saw was in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Who hit the first home run in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum as a Dodger?
You would think it would come rolling right off my lips.
Well, I'll give you another hint. He also hit the first home run as a Los Angeles Dodger in Seal Stadium in San Francisco. When the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, they opened the season with 3 games in 1958 at Seal Stadium in San Francisco, where the Giants first played before Candlestick Park was built.
Right.
Okay? This player homered in the second game because the Dodgers got shut out at Seal Stadium in the first game as the Los Angeles Dodgers 8-0, won the next game. And this player hit the first home run as a Los Angeles Dodger. And when they came down after 3 days in San Francisco, they came down for the next 3 then were in the LA Coliseum. There were 78,000 people in the Coliseum that very first game. And this same player hit the first home run in the LA Coliseum.
Well, boy, it seems to me like I know this, and I'm going to give you a name. I want to say Wally Moon.
No, but that's a pretty good guess, though, Mr. Moonshot.
Ron Larkin?
We just lost Wally here. We just lost Wally this year, you know.
I didn't realize that. Wally's gone. Wow.
Yeah, Wally passed away about, I would say, a 3 months ago. We lost Wally Moon.
Well, another one of the
wonderful man. You know, in 1965, he ran a baseball camp in Covina, California, Wally Moon's baseball camp. I got to spend 2 weeks there, which was, at that time, the 2 greatest weeks of my life.
I'll bet.
We did everything, you know what I mean? Anyway, and Wally came, Johnny Edwards, the old Cincinnati Red catcher, came and helped out a few times when the Reds were in town. We also had visits from Darryl Spencer, who I used to love.
Yeah.
infielder Darryl Spencer. But anyway, Wally had a baseball camp. It was great, but no, it was not Wally Moon, who was famous for his moonshots over the left field screen at the LA Coliseum, which was 256 feet from home plate. You know, when they played in the football stadium.
Yeah, that's right. It would have been impossible for a left-handed batter to hit a home run.
As a matter of fact, when they moved out and moved into Dodger Stadium, there was one player who volunteered to help pull that screen down, and it was Don Drysdale. I remember having a picture of him pulling down on this cord to pull that screen down. But anyway, this
I almost said Drysdale as the answer to that question.
No, he was a third baseman, by the way. He was a third baseman, and on the June deadline of 1959, he was traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for an obscure outfielder by the name of Chuck Asigian, whose claim to fame would be that 1959 World Series, hitting 2 pinch hit home runs.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I should know this name. It's not coming to me. Well, you got me this time. Who is it?
Yeah, you'll remember that the '60s Dodgers for God until Ron Say got there had a problem at third base.
Oh yeah,
I mean
it was a revolving door.
The Bermuda Triangle of baseball positions for that organization. Yes, third baseman by the name of Dick Gray.
Dick Gray. Wow. Okay, well that's one I'm going to use on somebody else in the future.
Well, see, if you had his 1960 baseball card, you would have known that.
That's right.
Okay. I was a millionaire once.
Really?
You didn't know that. I was a millionaire once, but my mother threw out all my baseball cards when I joined the Navy. and that was the end of my $1 million career as a millionaire.
Well, happened to a lot of us. Chuck, we're running out of time here, but I wanted to say one thing to you. You know, you and I have known each other for years. We've been friends. You mentioned your dad is your all-time hero. I want you to know you were one of my all-time. You were one of my all-time heroes, Chuck.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Eric. My dad had always told me when I was in school, and even when I was on the Monroe High baseball team with Doug DeSensei, you may remember him. I was shortstop. DeSensei played third base. He went on to a much better career than I had in baseball because, you know, public enemy number one destroyed me. But anyway, my dad would always tell me, hey, if you studied your schoolwork half as much as you do baseball, you'd be a Rhodes Scholar. That was the only thing my dad ever told me to try to get me to do my schoolwork. But I wasn't interested in school. I was only interested in baseball.
Well,
I'm still only interested in baseball.
Isn't it funny? As we get older, we're getting even more interested in it.
Heck, But at least I know, speaking about my Diamondbacks, there's one thing that I know.
What's that?
There's only 7 more days left in May, and then comes June bloom.
Well, let's hope so for their sake.
That's when the tide turns. When June turns to bloom, the tide turns. Okay, mark my words. All right.
Okay, I will mark your words, matter of fact. You can count on hearing from me about that.
When you're out of Chase Field, filling your pockets with raffle tickets, and when you get that winning number up there in the 7th inning, make sure you come over to section 134 to the main kiosk. I'll be there waiting to take your picture and get your information. So
I will do that because I'm telling you, I'm liable to buy a couple hundred of those tickets. And what I will do, I'll tell you and my listeners right now, if I do win, I'm going to give half of what I get to the St. Jude's Foundation for Children's Cancer Research.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
So, Chuck, again, you are one of my all-time heroes. I want to thank you for your service to our country, which a lot of people may or may not know about.
Well, thank you. The best thing that you can ever tell a Vietnam veteran is just welcome home, because we didn't hear
well, welcome home, certainly. And
thank you.
So I'll see you on Tuesday night. I want to thank you for being here. All my listeners, you've been listening.
Looking forward to it, Doc. Okay, looking forward to it, Doc. We'll talk again. All right.
Okay, thank you, Chuck Boyer. And all my listeners, have a very pleasant week wherever you may be. We'll be back next week.